then we're likely to control the spread of the virus. So if you haven't taken yours, please try and get yours. What was a little disturbing for me from the president's address yesterday was the fact that he indicated again that this is not the right time to reopen the land borders. And there have been concerns about that because, again, our very own Nancy Vocaniana, I remember a few months ago, visited the Aflao border, and she was able to even cite about 10 illegal routes that people were using to enter the country, and they were paying 5 cedis. Some were paying about 10 cedis just to get in illegally. Nobody was testing them, no security checks, none of that, because they were evading the immigration by using those illegal routes. And so there have been calls many times by many people across the country to at least open the land borders and rather put in measures to ensure that people who come into the country via land are tested. And if they have to also vaccinate, then they are also vaccinated. But the president says that, I mean, based on checks, he doesn't think, and I'm sure that this is based also on advice from his medical team. And so let me just quote what he says. As you know, the decision to close our borders, which are a source of livelihoods for many, was necessary because we wanted to limit the importation of the virus into the country. We're monitoring the level of the threat of the disease and ongoing vaccinations in our neighboring countries. And as soon as we're satisfied that it is safe to do so, the borders will open. Until then, I believe this is not the right time to reopen our land borders, especially as we're determined to prevent a 4th wave. And as such, they will remain closed until further notice. And I'm worried because we saw how businesses had gone under because of the closure of their land borders, especially for people who have to trade between Togo, and the Volta region, Ivory Coast, and the other borders as well. They're complaining that all our goods are rotten, they're destroyed, and we've lost our livelihoods because the land borders have been closed. Yet people are crossing these borders day in, day out. Immigration says that they're going to do something about the allegations of officers who are taking bribe at the various land borders. But it hasn't stopped. It's still ongoing, and people keep crossing and coming in and going out. And so if we're told again that there's not enough reason to open the land borders, what are we doing to secure the illegal routes so that we don't have people crossing in? Because if they have the virus and they cross in and there's no check, then what's the point? We may be controlling the spread at the airport, but what happens to those who are coming in via land? Which is my concern, and especially for people who have also lost their means of survival. What are they going to do? Because it's Christmas. Ideally, I can imagine how busy these borders would have been. But of course, because of COVID, we cannot have that. But can we at least also implement the same measures that were put in place at the airports as the various land borders so that people can cross in and out and undergo the right checks? If they have to test, they can do so. PCR, I mean, what is preventing us from doing that? It's been over, a year since the land borders were closed. Over a year. We're actually heading into 2 years in March. And so what happens to all these people? That means their businesses are gone forever. How do they get it back? It's a big, big problem. And so I do hope that our health team are doing everything possible to ensure that they can put in place measures to have the land borders open and the right checks are put in place so that people can come in and out, especially for those who cannot afford plane tickets and they can only afford a bus ride. What happens to them? How do they get back into the country? Does it mean that people have been stuck outside their home for almost 2 years because land borders have been closed? It's a major problem. And so, Mr. President, I mean, if you can still, I'm sure your team is advising you, but we'll be happy if something is done about this particular situation. But that's not all we're discussing today on the show. And sorry, I haven't been at work all week. I've been under the weather. But thank God for life. I'm back, and I hope that you're well. Just be safe, stay protected out there. It's Christmas, so of course, we'll be making merry on the show. We'll have a conversation about what your plans are. Have you started shopping? What are you buying? Where are you buying it from? All that and more right here on the show. Johnny is coming your way with Johnny's Bites at this point. When we get back, it will be time for the big issue. And later, we'll continue the conversation on all other topics that are trending. This is TV3 New Day. Keep watching.
Schedule rumor to me.
Master.